This is Colin O'Keefe of LXBN, and joining me today is Angelo Paparelli, an attorney at Seifert Shaw and author on Nation of Immigrators, which Angelo describes as a public policy blog on America's dysfunctional immigration system. Today we're discussing the idea that improved immigration regulations could improve the United States' ailing economy. Angelo, first off, why do you believe improved immigration regulations are an appropriate and sensible vehicle for improving the United States economy and job market?
Well, right now we have what I understand economists call structural unemployment. What structural unemployment involves is a mismatch of skill sets or an inability to travel to where the work is within the United States, or an unwillingness to perform certain kinds of work that is particularly laborious. And as a result, the economy could grow if there were the proper match of skills, there were the mobility that's needed, or there were an availability of workers who would perform jobs that are laborious. Immigration can solve all of those problems, and the Society of Human Resource Management just did a survey and suggested that over 50% of the members of their organization who were surveyed are finding it hard to recruit qualified workers. Now, these are usually on the high skill side, but we have seen as well from places like Alabama and Georgia, which have made it very difficult for unauthorized immigrants, undocumented individuals to feel safe, and they've not shown up for work to pick fruit and vegetables and harvest the crops. And as a result, both on the high-skilled end and on the low-skilled end, we have an unavailability of the right types of workers. That's not to say that immigration will solve all problems, but when and especially in the high-skilled side, when the high-skilled jobs are filled, inevitably that allows the employer to create subordinate or auxiliary jobs that Americans would be in a position to fill. And it would lift the entire economy as a result. That's happened and been proven over and over again. We've also seen recently a report from Immigration Impact, which is a policy arm of the American Immigration Council, and their recent report debunked the idea that high-skilled immigrant jobs take away work from Americans. So really, it's not a zero-sum game. I would say it's a law of abundance concept.
I see. So that's kind of the why this could be done. How do we go about improving these immigration regulations? What needs to be done to alter these in a way that we get people filling in the right type of jobs?
Well, let's look at sectors of the economy where we have weakness right now and consider what we could do to jumpstart those sectors. Everyone knows that housing and construction, which have in years past been a real boon to the economy, are at a very weak state. The president could instruct the Department of State to grant business visitor visa status to individuals who would come here if they would purchase a home. And we could set an arbitrary number of the home would have to be at a purchase price of $500,000 or more. That individual could get a 3-year visa, and it could come with work permission given by United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. Business visitors now have the right to work in some limited circumstances. They just determined to expand that. And if there were huge demand for housing, it would definitely create demand for refurbishing of homes, manufacturing of appliances to be furnishing the homes. It would spin off quite a lot of jobs. The National Association of Realtors has said that for every 2 homes purchased, that creates 1 additional job. And there's huge demand among foreign citizens of the right to come to the United States, to visit loved ones, to go to school, They may not even want to work. They may just want to have the ability to come on a more prolonged basis and gain the benefits associated with being physically present in the United States. That's just one example. Another example would be to alleviate some of the pressures of those who graduate from a university or in a bachelor's program or a master's program or a PhD, and they only get a very limited period of employment authorization known as practical training. That period is either 1 year, or if they're in a science, technology, engineering, and mathematics field, and their employer enrolls in an employment verification database known as E-Verify, they can get an extra 17 months. But in either case, most people would like to build a career, and we want these people who have these high skills to stay here and not leave and go abroad. So one of the impediments has been that once they've been able to prove through their employer that there are no Americans to fill their particular job in the geographic area where the job is located, they then can apply for a green card. But we have quotas that are backed up. In some cases, for example, citizens born in India are backed up 10, 20 years, and some have even estimated 70 years, which is kind of absurd, but the quota is very restricted. You could allow people to get in line and for a green card. You wouldn't get the green card until the quota is current, but by just getting in line, you know that eventually with the passage of time you'll get an opportunity. You can also have greater job portability. You could allow people who are in line, they could move to another occupation that is in the same or similar field and start their own business and employ the workers in their own right. There's a great deal of entrepreneurial spirit among immigrants, and it's shown time and again that more patents and more of Silicon Valley's tech giants were started by immigrants or were filed by immigrants in the case of patents. So there are a lot of opportunities that could be done. Another very simple thing, if you wanted to help retail, is expand the list of countries whose citizens can visit without a visa. They just register online and they come for shopping. We have a tremendous growth in the economies of Brazil, and there are other countries, but choose them wisely. They shouldn't be ones who are going to violate the laws, and let them come and shop. You know, George Bush after 9/11 said, what can Americans do? They can shop. Well, Barack Obama should say that what Americans can do is let foreigners come in and shop. And so these are things that really can help. There ought to be ways as well for foreign entrepreneurs to sponsor themselves. So-called working owners of businesses are under a great deal of restrictions under the immigration laws that may have made sense at one point. I really doubt it, but they don't make any sense today. If we want entrepreneurship, and both parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, say that we want to have job creators, this will create jobs. So these are just some of the things that can be done. Sometimes we see that after a person has a work visa, they need to get it renewed and they have to leave to go to an American embassy or consulate overseas. Well, sometimes just the process of going requires a long-term check of their records, and they get stuck outside, and a project that employs Americans is suspended or canceled because they can't get the foreign worker who was already on the project back in time. So why not have the person just mail their passport to a central visa processing unit that the Department of State could run? If they need an interview, schedule an interview, but meantime the project goes forward. And if anyone shouldn't be here, they know where they are. They can certainly take actions to remove them if they are a national security threat or any other kind of serious threat to our society. Now, everything I've suggested involves screening the people and making sure they have no serious criminal history, they're not engaged in money laundering or terrorist activities, they don't have a disease of public health significance. All of the normal screening would still go on. But what we would do would be to modernize our laws, which have not really been modernized in the employment-based arena since 1991. And, we have a number of things Congress could do, but all of the things I've suggested the president could do. He has been saying over and over, we can't wait for the Congress, which is in a gridlock situation, and their impasse is hurting the nation. We can't wait. So he should pick up his presidential pen and sign some executive orders and instruct the members of his cabinet that have authority over immigration, the State Department, the Labor Department, the Department of Homeland Security, the Commerce Department can have a role. The Small Business Administration could have a role. He should bring this departmental level collection of secretaries and cabinet members and agency heads together and say, I'm going to give you 90 days to come up with a plan that will jumpstart job creation through the existing legal immigration mechanisms. We're not going to pass any new laws, but we have the authority to interpret regulations, and we can interpret them in the public interest in a manner that will spur the economy. So these are the kinds of things he could do.
Definitely. It helps things move much quicker. And last, we're seeing much tighter immigration regulations and laws popping up in places like Alabama and Arizona, presumably as an attempt to keep jobs in the hands of American-born citizens. I think you've touched on this a little bit already in terms of finding people for the right type of jobs, but how do you combat this notion that tighter immigration regulations means more jobs and a better economy?
Well, you combat it first by looking at the metrics. There's really no evidence that more jobs are created as a result of tightened immigration. In fact, I would suggest to you that this pattern of having states legislate at the immigration rules on a 50-state basis creates impediments to jobs because companies that are national in scope cannot figure out when they have a plant in New Jersey, a headquarters in Alabama, a distribution center in St. Louis, how do they comply with all these laws? Just figuring out how they comply is a burden that prevents them from growing. We need to recognize that immigration is federal in nature. It's got to be a uniform system. We don't need the same problems that the European Union are facing, where every authority gets to vote on changes and it creates impasse.
Definitely. That makes sense. Once again, this is Angelo Paparelli of C. First Shaw and Nation of Immigrators. For more on the evolving state of immigration laws in our country, be sure to check out nationofimmigrators.com and lxbn.lexblog.com. Thanks, Angelo.
Thank you.